So this is some of the features here that we've got. There's numerous that we can list to kind of help you with making things a lot more simpler, efficient with the AVG Managed Workplace product. Please don't be worried, I'm not going to go through a whole slide deck. Instead, what we're going to do is I'll actually demonstrate the product to you instead. So hopefully now you can see the Managed Workplace product in front of you. So this is our hosted version that you can see in front of you that we would set up for you. It allows you to organize all your customers and is viewable through any browser. And you can see here all the amount of devices and problems that you would have for those. It's nice, as I put on the first slide there, easy deployment. So, and it will also sit in various networks and so forth as well. So options we have is we can put individual installations onto those laptops, remote workers and so forth, so we can look after them as well and bring them in under that customer. But what we can also do is have a main central machine which will probe the network, find all the devices for you that have got an IP address, and providing we set up the correct credentials for protocols such as WMI, SNMP, it will go off and query them and allow you to start managing and monitoring them here. So that's, as you can see here, this particular device is looking after the rest of those within the network. So that's kind of what we're able to do. You can obviously filter out any devices that we don't want to, so that you can control exactly what you are going to look after it for that particular customer. So once we've got that established, that we've got the devices and so forth, we're then going to be able to kind of put what we call service plans. So what we're saying here is we want to create a consistent approach to all the customers and making it very easy to do so. So as you can see here, all the sort of functionality that we have within the product, we call it a service. I'll put it down here. So you've got things as being able to provide diagnostics, reporting, patch management and so forth. And you can assign them to plans. So such as we've got here an example of, for a break fix customer, it's just monitoring and alerting me with the problems, and then I can go on and then quote them on the work. Then we look at the next sort of level up. So I'm trying to upsell my customers, and then this one where we are a managed service almost provider, we're moving them up, and in this case they're paying us a retainer. So what we're wanting to do is provide that as efficiently as we can. So what we're going to do is a lot more automation, patch management, maintenance, diagnostics, etc., to help that keep running smoothly. So under all each of these services, which are completely configurable by yourself, what they are set up under policy. So policies make up a service to make up a plan. So if we actually have a look under the monitoring policies we've got, you don't need to start from scratch. So that's one of the good things, being able to know. So we put these best practice guides, templates as it were, in these monitoring policies to help you from the start look after things like various types of network hardware, software, operating systems, Apple, Mac, etc. So not going to list and go through all these, but you can see there's a fair amount within the library already. So each one of those policies is tailor-made for that particular type of software or hardware. So if we choose one, if we skip through and go to things such as for workstations, etc., a nice common one, we'll click on the Enhance. So this is the more automated one. What this will do is, providing we've got that service there, it will, using the asset scanning functionality that's built in, it will apply it to, in this case, anything that's a Windows device but not a server. So that will cater to all the Windows 7, 8, 10 devices there. So this is built up of individual monitors. So now that it knows it's a Windows workstation, it can start to look at things like Windows events. So it will tell if there's been any disk-related issues, network things reported into the Windows event log. It will also be able to look at services that are running on the device. And it will be able to kind of let you know through the alert that if the print spooler has stopped, for example, that apart from that, it will tell you that it's stopped, but in this case, we can actually get it to help us. So it will actually restart the stop service and then raise an alert if it fails to do that. So it's already starting to automate things and help us that way. And the other thing it can look at is things like performance counters on the device. So being able to tell when CPU, memory go high. So if we take, for example, disk space. So in this case, the device is being requested through WMI to give us its free space on the C drive. It can be told for this value anything from a minute to an hour to a day, depending on how critical we feel this particular monitor is. Once it's done that, the system will then compare the results to what thresholds and so forth are being set. So in this case, it's less than 5 gig. So once it's less than 5 gig, it then triggers off, in this case, a ticket which will be raised in the system. It'll be an email, so it can notify you while you're out and about. And to take it a step further, again, introducing this level of automation for efficiency, it's going to run a script. So in this case, it will delete temp files. So that should help clear up, certainly in most cases, enough disk space. And we can even get it to send us an alert to say that that's resolved the issues. And you can also get it to clear the ticket. So as you can see, we do introduce this automation. So rather than telling there's a problem happening, why don't we try and resolve it, making you, free us to go on and look at other customer issues, grow the business, etc. So built in to help you with this sort of automation and efficiency, we give you all these scripts that you can use that, as you can see, can run all sorts of different things, so deleting logs, doing all sorts of other maintenance and stuff to help save you time. It could be install software, such as just went past there. We've got Java, Adobe, Acrobat, 9.9 type functionality. We've got packages that are built in, so you can take these individual scripts, combine them together to make up like maintenance, so scheduling maintenance. In this case, for a Mac device, for example, getting it to do a backup, tidy up the system, do some verification that the system's okay, and then kick off the Mac updates. So to get these to run, we can either link the scripts to the monitoring, or we can actually put a calendar event and schedule it in. So we can actually get that to schedule in. We choose the script that we want to run or package, choose the target devices or group, and hit schedule and recurrent. So we could have something like that happening every week or month to help maintain the system. Now the system's also clever, so if we wanted to say, for example, Java, find the devices to keep them up to date. What we have are a number of different types of groups, so we can put things into containers. And what I've done here, because we've got this auto-inclusion and functionality like that in the product, this is going to, across system-wide, gather any device that is Windows that has Java installed. So I can then set an automation job to keep that up to date. So as soon as Java is installed, it inherits that maintenance schedule. So that helps maintain and make sure it's kept up to date for security reasons. Of course, whilst we can automate a lot of this, you will have the need to kind of jump onto devices and look at them. So if we jump to, say, another site, when you click on a device, we present you with an overview. So we can tell you the operating system, We'll tell you all the groups and so forth, all the functionality that we've enabled on it. You'll be able to look through all the sort of hardware components of the product. So very much sort of an audit of the system, picking up operating system environments, the license keys, the software, so you can get all that sort of, save you having to go around and do manual kind of site audits. Everything is given you here, including things like Microsoft product keys. It'll be able to keep an eye so you can produce charts and so forth to show the customer how the system's been behaving. But it'll also show you, give you the ability to remote control. So an important part of what we do, we can't afford to jump in a car and run around to go and visit each system. So being able to do that remotely. Of course, you can still use Microsoft Remote Desktop and stuff should you want to, but we give you as part of the product remote control. So being able to set up a secure connection from ourselves to that end user to be able to kind of carry out all the sort of tasks that we would need to. So the customer can now tell that we are connected onto that device. We can now chat with them. We can transfer files to that to help. We can flick between their screens. We can highlight areas of the screen if we're teaching them and educating them on what has happened and the problem's been. We can, because we can actually record the session, so you could play it back to them and so forth as well. Now we've got the ability to sort of take over the keyboard, produce some system information as to how the system is behaving, and should we need to, we can even kind of reboot the computer in safe mode. Now that's great if we're kind of, for our managed customers, such as those that we've already got, those on-site managers and agents on. But of course there's going to be new customers hopefully coming on board. So what we actually give you is the ability to set up one-off remote access connections. So what this will do is we click on this particular icon here, it will create an executable, and after that we'll be able to set up a one-off session that will provide an 8-digit PIN, which will then give the same level of access as we've got there. So you'll be able to do all the same. So it means you're going to be able to manage and remotely access, there we are there, not just the managed customers, but anything that comes along that's unmanaged. So we can do that. So you could even have that on your website, a link to the URL that you need for the unattended or unmanaged access. So you can see that connecting through there now. So we just need them to go to that URL. Some other useful functionality that we like that's particularly useful for people is remote tools. So often end users are busy and they can't often let you onto their machine, especially when you're not really sure of what the problem is. So being able to get onto the machine to diagnose what the problem is. We can actually give you these remote tools. So what they're using is the WMI access, in this case, behind the scenes. So the user carries on working, and what we're able to do is have a look through the Windows logs. We can see the running processes, the services, and have a look in the registry to try and pinpoint where the problem's been. Once we've done that, we can then remote on to the customer. So we're not having to waste their time and just be more efficient. Of course, we record everything, so everything in the system, when you're using all this remote access, is recorded. Really mainly for reporting. We need to be able to demonstrate to the customer when we're doing all this kind of work, exactly what we're doing. So we've got numerous reports that we have that are already created. There's more available in our library for you to do. Or you can even create your own. But being able to produce reports for your customers, really just to reinforce and demonstrate to them all the work that you're doing is key. Because you're doing it more behind the scenes, they tend to kind of forget about that. So we can produce these reports, such as this site business report, which can be customized with logos, etc., just to show the customer, right, here's the amount of uptime we've had. You can see we've had these amount of alerts raised within that last couple of weeks, how much remote work we've done, how much patching, again. So what we can do is we've also got delivery schedules, so we can actually automate that going out. You can add in on any of the reports your own logos, and then that could be sent out on a regular basis to your customers, dropping in their inbox as a PDF or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of reports. The reporting can also help you from things like an asset management point of view, also for potentially a sales point or looking at potential. So what we can do on the creation of your own reports is, such as I've done here, created a report to look at a minimum specification for Windows 10. So I've said that anything below this particular spec will not run it. That can then be looked at, ran against the customers, and we can then kind of go from there, or departments, and look at upgrades, replacements, etc. from there. So you can see we've got a lot of that reporting and so forth. It's all customizable. So some of the other stuff we've got in here, we've mentioned there's tickets. So when we raise problems, rather than just getting emails and them sitting in the system will generate tickets. So they'll be associated with the device, so we can keep a history of it, and to be able to show the customer or whoever's responsible all the devices that we're looking after. We can move these around and assign to different Managed Workplace users. We can change the status, priority, etc. And we can put on our comments. So that's great. What we can also do is we can obviously add tickets manually, but we can also give end users or managed users the ability to create their own. So we have a neat tool that we call our support assistant that provides you with the ability to put out onto all those endpoints an icon in the system tree you can customize. So you can call it My Support, whatever you happen to want to call it, and it will produce a green circle, a green dot, or a red dot, depending on that. But again, the system is so customizable that we can actually let you upload your own icon. So you can have your company or whatever logo you wish for this particular policy, and when they hover over it, it comes up and says My Support, and then it will present them with some menu entries. So it could be, here's the support telephone number. It could be how to get some to the support page, or some useful help articles. It could be how to email, get in contact with the help desk, and it will include a link to that. But tickets as well. So we can create a menu item such as submit ticket. So we get that in there. We then choose, say, for example, a detailed ticket. And if I bring up the one from my own system, you can see here that it's a simple little two-box approach. So they put in their title and description. They can then choose the priority, and they hit submit. You can choose whether you want them to have the priority. I think some customers tend to make it high all the time, but what will happen is once they hit submit, they'll get a notification back on their screen so that they know it's actually entered into the system. So thank you for your ticket. And within the system itself, it's going to push the ticket out to, in this case, admin, just because we've assigned that. An admin is going to get an email himself just to let him know that there's been a new ticket added into the system. So you'll be able to then go into the ticket management and see that there's a new ticket in there, and he can then update, allocate it, whatever he needs to do from there. Of course, much more in the product to kind of go through. It's able to do patching, so being able to kind of update all the Microsoft products that are out there, something that everyone's means to do, but it sometimes never gets round to. So you choose the products and classification according to Microsoft of the patches you want to do. You can get them to download patches directly from Microsoft or store them on that managed machine that you've put on the network. You can put devices into approval groups, and the approval groups determine which ones are auto-approved. So with patches, it's a three-stage approach. They're missing. They need to be approved before they're installed. So we allow you to kind of set that and make it as automated as you want, depending on, you know, the customer, whether it be a server or a workstation, etc. Because sometimes people prefer it to do it a little more manual, just because it's a very important server. So in this case, what it's going to do is check for what's missing every 22 hours. It's going to download and install those approved patches, and in this case, do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. And because it's in the early hours, I've told it it's fine to do a reboot. But of course, if that was something like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we can make sure it doesn't reboot. So we can make sure that, again, this will all be fed into the reports so that we can show all the patches that we've been doing to help make sure all the systems have got all those security and critical updates applied. And with security, very much, you know, a talking point, of course, we've got antivirus. So we've got integrated into the product an integrated AV. So this uses our Business Edition 2016 antivirus. You basically just choose when you create the policy what components you want, so you can allocate it let me just type in there a test policy, whether it's to automatically install. So as soon as it detected a device, it can just push out the AV to it. Or we can have a sort of manual click per machine to initiate the install. We can get it to remove any existing AV, and then what components do we want to provide them with it? So do they want the email protection, web browsing protection, and firewall? Whatever we happen to kind of choose. Once we create the, well, already exists, let's create another one. So once we've got into there, you can set and easily make changes to all the areas that it should scan, that it shouldn't scan, etc. So all the normal AV things, password protection, etc. What it means is that, again, similar to the patch management, because it's integrated, it can all be fed into the reports to show the customer what's been happening with regards to threats, etc. Now, because it's all very much, as the product is, single pane of glass, it means that if you were to actually go to the device itself, it's reported that there's been a threat, we can actually, without leaving this particular portal here, be able to tell it to go and scan. So it's very much, again, helping you efficiency by giving you all the tools in one place to save you or other engineers or whoever jumping around, flicking between systems and so forth. So that's kind of very much that. We do have a number of other functionalities and stuff, some of the main ones being through our service modules. So being able to kind of integrate with virtualization, so Hyper-V, VMware, since that's becoming quite predominant out there. Being able to look after online backups, so Datto, Infrascale, for things like that. We can also do, so they can actually set up backups or be able to identify if there's any issues with the on-premise application box that they have. You can look after Office 365 as well, so you're made aware of any issues that Office 365 has. So once again, it is all very configurable. We allow you to kind of brand it, make changes to it as you want. But it's a very comprehensive tool. It has everything kind of needed for looking after things like printers, so you can do print management, as well as monitoring network equipment such as routers, NAS boxes, etc., and servers and workstations. So what I think I'd like to do is probably just open it up to see if there's any questions. If you do have any questions, please send them through. I'd be more than happy to answer any of those.
If we have no more questions, then thank you very much for attending. If you need any more information, give us a call or visit our website. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we've just got a question through there, which I'll answer. So thanks Mark, for submitting that. Yes, you can. So because it is a bit of a beast with regards to functionality and so forth, what we do have is under the user management, you can create as many users as you want. What you actually do with those users is you define them a role and object access. So in this case, I've allocated James a customer level access to what particular object. So he can only see certain customers and he can only see the workstations under those customers. You can set up these roles as much as you wish. So the customer level access, for instance, in this case, really just gives James access to be able to view devices and to be able to go into the ticketing area. He can't, for instance, see any of the groupings. He can't see any of the other settings, so the automation, etc. So you can define what other technicians can see, or you can even open it up to end users. You've got complete control over what permissions they have and what scope they have for that as well. Well, if there's no more questions, certainly if you do have any, then please speak to Robert and anyone at the Grey Matter team. They'll be able to pass it on. Oh, sorry, another one. You need to get third-party notifications. So, well, with third-party, we do integrate. So, as with the monitoring, we do pick up things such as, if we're looking at backups, AVs, etc., we can pick up anything from them that they've maybe written to event logs, so we can do that. As for notifications, ticketing, and so forth like that, we do have the ability to link it out into other service desks or other products. So creating API, almost two-way communication between things such as Autotask, ConnectWise, all these PSA systems that are on the market, Dynamics. So we'll integrate so that when a ticket is raised, for example, within Managed Workplace, it creates it in the other product and vice versa. So we integrate with that, and as in third-party wise, say you can also, we can pick up notifications if there's any kind of products that have had, such as backups, AVs. So hopefully that helps answer your question, Mark.
Brilliant. Okay then. Thanks everybody.